The academy hall was buzzing with energy, the kind of excitement that made even seasoned cadets' hearts race. Leora stood quietly near the back, her hands folded in front of her, observing. She was a human, and humans were rare at the Intergalactic Defense Academy. The other cadets from countless alien species were taller, stronger, and faster, or at least they believed so. They looked at her with amusement, whispers passing through the crowd. The human, she's in the simulator, this will be entertaining. She didn't need to prove herself to anyone except perhaps to herself. The instructors called her name. Cadet Leora, please report to Simulation Room 7. Her heart didn't race. It was steady like the calm before a storm. She walked forward, each step measured, as alien cadets snickered behind her. One of the taller ones, a reptilian species with scales glinting under the bright lights, leaned over to a companion. This human won't last 30 seconds, he hissed. Leora paused just outside the door, taking a deep breath. The simulator was the most advanced in the academy. It could replicate any battlefield, any scenario, and no cadet had ever cleared it without using weapons. And today she wouldn't carry a weapon. She didn't need one. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside, the room was stark and metallic, empty except for holographic controls at one end. The floor shimmered with projection lines, and walls could shift at will, changing the terrain instantly. Leora stepped inside, her eyes scanning every detail. The instructors' voices echoed through the speakers. The simulation begins when you step into the center, all rules active, no external intervention. The virtual battlefield unfolded around her. Rocky terrain, jagged cliffs, and scattered metallic debris. Drones materialized from nowhere, their weapons aimed directly at her. They moved with precision, their AI programmed to detect any weaknesses. Most cadets would panic now, drawing weapons and firing recklessly. Leora stood perfectly still, her mind working like a machine, analyzing patterns, predicting movements. The first drone lunged. Leora sidestepped smoothly, ducking behind a jagged rock. She didn't strike. She didn't need to. The drone collided with the rock, spinning and flipping before righting itself. Leora noted its recovery sequence, the slight delay in its sensors, and adjusted her path accordingly. Another drone came at her from the left. She jumped, landing lightly on a metallic crate, sending it rolling. It collided with the drone, causing a chain reaction. The alien cadets in the gallery gasped. A few muttered in disbelief. Is she using the environment? A hanging cable could trip a drone if she nudged it at the right angle. Minutes, or what felt like minutes though the simulation clock ticked faster, passed. Leora's movements were precise and controlled. The drones attacked relentlessly, faster and more coordinated than any previous cadet had faced. And yet none of her steps were wasted. She was not just surviving, she was orchestrating chaos. One of the alien cadets leaned over to another. She's controlling the battlefield without even touching a weapon. His voice was a mixture of awe and fear. Leora's thoughts flickered to her childhood on Earth. Games, puzzles, problem-solving exercises, all designed to make her think several moves ahead. Humans had a history of improvisation, of using what they had, even when everything seemed against them. This was no different. The drones were strong, but they were predictable, and she was human. A cluster of drones approached a narrow passage. Leora spotted a hanging panel above them. With a quick movement, she triggered it, sending a cascade of debris onto the drones. They toppled over one another, momentarily stunned. Leora walked through the passage calmly, each step calculated, each action precise. She didn't need to attack. She needed only to guide the drones into positions where their own momentum worked against them. The alien observers were silent now, eyes wide, mouths slightly open. They had mocked humans for centuries, believing their reliance on tools and brute force made them weak. And now, in 2 minutes, that misconception was being shattered. One drone approached from behind, faster than the others, its targeting system blinking aggressively. Leora pivoted, using a loose panel to deflect it, sending it spinning into a wall. Another drone lunged from above. She used her momentum to push a piece of debris, tripping it midair. Within moments, the drones were disabled or trapped, unable to move effectively. Leora had created her own strategy, her own battlefield, without firing a single shot. The instructors' voices echoed through the speakers again. Simulation complete. Analysis commencing. Some had never seen a human move like this, combining observation, strategy, and intuition so flawlessly. A reptilian cadet from earlier clenched his fists, unable to hide his shock. How did she do that in 2 minutes? He whispered to a companion. His companion shook his head. I don't know, but we need to rethink humans. Every eye was on her, but she didn't acknowledge them. The instructors were already reviewing her performance, murmuring excitedly. She had broken records not with weapons or strength, but with something far more potent, human ingenuity. As she stepped out of the simulator, she allowed herself a small smile. Humans were underestimated too often. And yet, time and again, they proved that thinking, observation, and adaptability could outperform strength and technology. In the hall outside, cadets approached her hesitantly, some curious, some still incredulous. A few congratulated her quietly. She nodded, accepting their words politely but not seeking praise. What mattered was the lesson she had demonstrated. Underestimation could be dangerous. Humans were not just survivors, they were thinkers, improvisers, and when the situation demanded, unbeatable. The instructors called her over, showing detailed analysis of her performance. "Cadet Leora, your approach was unprecedented," one said. "You neutralized all AI threats without a weapon. Your strategy shows superior understanding of the environment and AI behavior." As she left the observation hall, the murmurs followed her. "Humans, we underestimated them. She didn't even fight, and yet she won. How is that possible?" And in 2 minutes, in a simulated battlefield designed to challenge the strongest cadets, she had shown the galaxy that humans were a force to be reckoned with, not because of weapons or strength, but because of the human mind. The Academy would not forget this day, and neither would the cadets who had mocked her. The hallways of the Academy were quieter now than usual, as if the building itself was still trying to process what had happened in Simulation Room 7. Word of Leora's performance had spread quickly. Alien cadets whispered as they passed, some glancing nervously in her direction. Even those who had once mocked her now looked at her with a mixture of awe and caution. Leora walked calmly through the corridors, her steps measured, her mind already turning to the next challenge. The instructors had mentioned that the simulation she had just completed was only the beginning. They were testing not just strength, but creativity, adaptability, and the ability to think several steps ahead. Humans had a reputation for improvisation, and she intended to prove that reputation deserved respect. As she entered the debriefing room, holographic projections of the simulation played across the walls. Every movement she had made, every drone she had disabled, was displayed in detail. An instructor pointed to a series of interactions where Leora had used environmental objects to her advantage. "Notice here," he said to the observing cadets. "Cadet Leora used nothing but the terrain and her knowledge of AI patterns to neutralize threats. No weapons were involved. This is highly unconventional but extremely effective." Their earlier confidence had faded, replaced by curiosity and unease. One of the reptilian cadets from before muttered under his breath, "I don't understand. How can someone neutralize drones without weapons?" Every movement, every decision had been calculated instinctively. Humans were trained to adapt quickly, to notice patterns that others overlooked. That instinct, combined with observation and strategy, gave them an advantage no amount of brute strength could match. The instructors called her over to discuss the next stage of training. "Cadet Leora," one began, "you've demonstrated an exceptional ability to use your environment strategically. For the next exercise, we will increase the complexity. You will face multiple AI-controlled opponents with enhanced decision-making capabilities. Your objective remains the same: survive and neutralize threats without using weapons." She had expected a challenge, and she welcomed it. The human mind thrived under pressure, and this would be an opportunity to push herself further. She knew that relying on instinct and intelligence could overcome even the most advanced technology. As she prepared for the next simulation, she noticed the alien cadets watching her intently. Some were clearly nervous, while others were trying to maintain a facade of confidence. Leora didn't react. She had learned that the best way to handle skepticism was simply to continue performing. Actions always spoke louder than words. The simulation room transformed around her, projecting a new battlefield. This time, the terrain was more complex. Jagged cliffs, narrow bridges, and unstable platforms created a challenging environment. Drones appeared immediately, their sensors scanning for any sign of weakness. These opponents were faster, smarter, and more aggressive than those in the previous simulation. The challenge had escalated, and the pressure was palpable. Leora took a deep breath, letting her senses adjust to the new environment. She moved cautiously, observing the drones' patterns and the way the terrain responded to their movements. She noticed a weak support beam on a narrow bridge and calculated how to use it to her advantage. A drone approached, and she kicked the beam at just the right angle. It collapsed, sending the drone tumbling into the abyss below. The alien cadets in the gallery gasped. One of them, a tall insectoid species with multiple limbs, whispered, "She's doing it again. She's using the environment, not weapons." His companion nodded, eyes wide. "We've never seen anyone neutralize AI like that." She wasn't just surviving, she was orchestrating the battlefield. At one point, a cluster of drones cornered her on a narrow platform. Most cadets would have panicked, but Leora remained calm. She noticed a loose cable overhead and used it to trip the approaching drones. They fell into one another, unable to recover in time. Leora stepped carefully over them, her mind already planning her next move. The instructors watched closely, analyzing her strategy. "Her adaptability is remarkable," one said. "She is able to predict and manipulate the AI in ways we did not anticipate." "This is more than skill, it is ingenuity." Outside the simulation, the alien cadets were beginning to understand the significance of what they were witnessing. A few of them muttered to one another, clearly reassessing their assumptions about humans. "We thought humans were weak," one said. "But this is something else." She had learned long ago that distractions were the enemy of precision. Every movement, every decision was deliberate. She wasn't relying on luck. She was relying on observation, calculation, and the ability to adapt instantly. In a particularly tense moment, a large drone attempted a surprise attack from above. Leora used a nearby panel to deflect it, sending it into another drone, causing a chain reaction that disabled several opponents at once. The simulation's timer showed that only a few minutes had passed, but her efficiency was astonishing. The instructors nodded, impressed by her performance. The alien cadets watched in silence, some of them clearly in awe. They had expected a brief struggle, perhaps even a failure, but instead, they witnessed a display of human ingenuity that challenged everything they had believed. Finally, the last drones were neutralized. Leora stood in the center of the simulation, breathing evenly, her expression calm. The battlefield was a controlled chaos of overturned objects and disabled drones. She had completed the challenge without a weapon, without a single reckless move, relying solely on her intelligence and observation. The instructors activated the debriefing protocol, displaying her performance on holographic screens. Every action was analyzed, every strategy explained. Leora's use of the environment, her anticipation of AI movements, and her ability to remain calm under pressure were highlighted as exemplary. The alien cadets leaned in, trying to understand the methods behind her success. One of them, the reptilian who had doubted her before, muttered, "How can someone think like that?" "We rely on strength and weapons. She relies on her mind." She had faced a challenge far greater than the first and had proven once again that humans had a unique edge. The ability to adapt, to improvise, and to outthink opponents, even in the most complex and dangerous situations. In the corridors outside, cadets gathered in small groups, discussing her performance. Some were clearly impressed, while others were still trying to process what they had seen. Leora didn't engage with them. She knew that respect earned through action was far more powerful than words. The instructors approached her, their expressions a mix of admiration and curiosity. "Cadet Leora," one said, "your performance has set a new standard for this academy. Your ability to neutralize threats without weapons demonstrates not only skill, but exceptional intelligence and adaptability. You will be assigned to advanced strategy training next. We believe your methods can benefit the entire cadet program." Humans were often underestimated, and yet, time and again, they demonstrated that intelligence, observation, and adaptability could overcome even the most advanced technology. As she walked down the hall, she thought about the next challenges. The academy would continue to test her, and she would continue to meet each challenge with the same calm focus and strategic thinking that had brought her this far. She understood something the alien cadets were only beginning to realize. Strength and weapons could win battles, but strategy, observation, and adaptability could win wars. By the time she reached her quarters, word of her performance had spread even further. Cadets she had never met sent congratulatory messages, and some even requested to observe her in future simulations. Leora accepted their interest quietly, knowing that demonstrating human capability was often more powerful than explaining it. That night, as she reviewed the day's events, Leora reflected on what had made her successful. It was not just skill or instinct. It was the ability to observe, to understand patterns, and to anticipate actions before they happened. It was the human edge, honed through generations of survival and problem-solving. In a galaxy that often judged species by strength, speed, or technology, humans had something different: creativity, adaptability, and a mind capable of turning any situation to their advantage. She smiled quietly to herself, knowing that this was only the beginning. The Academy had set high expectations, and she intended to exceed them. In 2 minutes, she had demonstrated what humans were capable of. In the days to come, she would continue to show the galaxy that underestimation of her kind was a mistake that no one could afford to make. The next morning, Leora arrived at the Academy early, as she always did. The corridors were quieter than usual, most cadets still buzzing about the previous day's simulations. Word of her victories had spread across the Academy, and today all eyes were on her. Some cadets looked at her with curiosity, others with caution, and a few with barely concealed envy. Leora ignored it all. She had learned long ago that attention could be a distraction if not handled carefully. What mattered was focus, and her mind was already on the new challenge the instructors had promised. Today's simulation was said to be the most complex yet. Multiple AI squads, unpredictable terrain, and environmental hazards designed to test not just skill, but creativity and adaptability to their limits. As she entered Simulation Room 9, the lights dimmed and the room transformed. A new battlefield appeared, a dense, urban environment filled with narrow alleys, high towers, and unstable structures. Smoke and mist reduced visibility, and holographic warnings indicated areas prone to collapse or explosions. This was no longer a simple test of observation. It was a full-scale mental and physical challenge. The AI opponents materialized immediately, moving in coordinated groups. Unlike the previous simulations, these drones were programmed to adapt quickly, learning from each encounter and attempting to anticipate her movements. Their attack patterns were unpredictable, and they could communicate with one another to set traps. Most cadets would feel overwhelmed, but Leora's mind thrived on complexity. She had been trained to analyze situations quickly and to see possibilities where others saw chaos. She stepped forward, her eyes scanning the environment. A narrow alleyway to her left offered potential cover, while a crumbling tower on her right could be used to funnel the drones. She didn't hesitate, her movements were precise and deliberate. A drone approached from above and she kicked a loose metal panel, sending it flying into its path. It stumbled, giving her time to advance. From the gallery above, alien cadets watched in astonishment. "She's doing it again," whispered one. "And the AI is supposed to learn. How is she still ahead?" Every second mattered. She moved through the streets, using debris, abandoned vehicles, and the environment itself to her advantage. She didn't need weapons. Her mind was her weapon. She calculated angles, predicted momentum, and anticipated the AI's next move before it even happened. A squad of drones attempted to trap her in a narrow courtyard. Most cadets would have panicked, but Leora remained calm. She noticed an unstable stack of crates above them. With a quick motion, she triggered the crates to fall, creating a blockade. The drones collided with the debris, disabling themselves in the process. She stepped over them carefully, continuing her calculated path. The alien observers were whispering nervously. Some had expected chaos, expecting her to struggle, but instead they watched her orchestrate the battlefield with calm precision. One of the reptilian cadets who had doubted her before muttered, This is not normal. No one moves like that without weapons." They split into smaller groups, attempted flanking maneuvers, and even tried baiting her into traps. But she anticipated these moves, predicting their strategies based on subtle behavioral cues. Each time, she turned their own tactics against them, using walls, vehicles, and other environmental features to neutralize threats. A particularly aggressive drone charged at her from the side, its sensors flashing red. Leora noticed a hanging cable just above it. With a quick leap, she used her momentum to swing the cable into the drone, knocking it off balance and sending it crashing into a stack of debris. She continued moving, the battlefield clearing before her, but the challenge was far from over. In the gallery, instructors were analyzing her movements closely. "Her anticipation is extraordinary," one said. "She's reading the AI's decisions and countering them before they even act. This is not just skill, it's intuition combined with strategic thinking." Most cadets would have panicked, but she saw an opportunity. She triggered a loose platform above the bridge, causing it to collapse in a controlled manner. The drones fell into the gap, neutralized without a single shot fired. Outside the simulation, the alien cadets were beginning to understand that human adaptability was something they could not easily counter. Some muttered to each other, clearly reassessing their assumptions about humans. "We've never seen anything like this," one said. "How can a human think so fast?" Every obstacle, every threat was accounted for and overcome. As the simulation progressed, the AI increased its complexity. Drones now attempted coordinated attacks using environmental hazards, hoping to corner her. A series of explosions blocked a path, forcing her to quickly calculate a new route. She noticed a narrow alley to her left, partially blocked by debris. With careful movements, she shifted the debris, creating a path while simultaneously setting traps for the pursuing drones. Her movements were a blend of strategy and instinct. She anticipated the drones' reactions, using their own aggression against them. When one squad tried to surround her, she led them into a collapsing structure she had noted earlier, neutralizing them efficiently. The alien cadets were now silent, watching in awe. Even those who had doubted humans were forced to admit that what they were witnessing was extraordinary. One of the insectoid cadets muttered, "She's not just surviving, she's controlling the battlefield." She had faced the most complex simulation yet and had emerged successful without a weapon, relying solely on her intelligence, observation, and adaptability. The instructors activated the debriefing protocol, displaying her performance in full detail. Every movement, every tactic, every environmental interaction was analyzed. Leora's ability to anticipate and manipulate the AI was highlighted as exceptional, a level of strategic thinking previously unseen in the academy. The alien cadets leaned in, trying to comprehend her methods. The reptilian who had doubted her earlier now stared in stunned silence. How does she do this?" he whispered. Another cadet, a small amphibious species, shook his head. "Humans, we've underestimated them, completely underestimated them." In the corridors outside, cadets gathered, discussing her performance. Some were impressed, others bewildered. Leora didn't interact with them. She knew that respect earned through action was far more powerful than words. The instructors approached her, their expressions a mix of admiration and curiosity. "Cadet Leora," one said, "your performance in today's simulation has exceeded all expectations. Your ability to anticipate and manipulate AI behavior demonstrates exceptional intelligence and adaptability. You will be assigned to advanced strategic missions where your skills can benefit the entire academy." She felt a quiet pride, knowing that humans had once again demonstrated their unique edge. In a galaxy that often judged species by strength, speed, or technology, humans had something different: creativity, adaptability, and the ability to outthink opponents in ways that seemed almost impossible. As she returned to her quarters that evening, she reflected on the day's events. She had faced the most complex challenge yet, and she had succeeded through observation, strategy, and calm precision. Every obstacle had been anticipated, every threat neutralized, and she had done it all without a weapon. Her thoughts turned to the future. The academy would continue to test her, and she would continue to meet each challenge with the same focus and strategic thinking that had brought her this far. Humans had survived in countless harsh environments, often underestimated and overlooked, yet they had always found a way to prevail. The galaxy was beginning to realize that underestimating humans was a dangerous mistake. Leora smiled quietly to herself. Today had been another demonstration of what humans could do. The next challenges would be even greater, but she was ready. She understood that strength and weapons could win battles, but strategy, observation, and adaptability could win wars. By the time she lay down to rest that night, she knew one thing clearly. The Academy had seen the human edge in full force, and this was only the beginning. Humans would continue to defy expectations, using their minds to overcome challenges no one else could. And Leora would be at the forefront, showing the galaxy that humans were not just capable, they were exceptional. The next day, the atmosphere at the Academy was different. Whispers of Leora's skill had spread far beyond her immediate cohort. Instructors praised her ability to neutralize threats without weapons, and cadets who had once mocked her now avoided underestimating humans. Even so, some were curious, while others were openly competitive. Several alien cadets in particular wanted to test her limits to see if her victories were luck or genuine talent. Leora arrived at the training grounds early. The room was larger than previous simulation areas, designed for multiple cadets to participate simultaneously. Holographic terrain shifted around the space, creating a complex cityscape filled with narrow corridors, abandoned vehicles, and towering structures. This simulation would not only test her against AI opponents, but also put her in situations where other cadets could intervene. She stepped into the arena calmly, her eyes scanning the layout. She had learned to rely on her observation skills and quick thinking. While the other cadets might act on instinct or aggression, Leora depended on analysis, timing, and adaptability. She had won before by using the environment itself, and she was confident she could do it again, even under added pressure. The simulation began. Drones appeared immediately, moving with intelligent coordination. They were faster, smarter, and more aggressive than before. At the same time, holographic signals indicated the presence of other cadets entering the simulation. Some of them, clearly aiming to challenge her, began maneuvering aggressively, attempting to corner her or block her path. Most cadets would panic under this dual pressure, but Leora remained calm. Her mind raced, assessing every variable, the drones, the terrain, the movements of other cadets. She realized that this was no longer just a test of reaction. It was a test of strategy, timing, and prediction. A squad of drones approached from the left while a group of cadets tried to ambush her from a narrow alley on the right. Leora's eyes flicked between the two threats. She noticed a large, unstable container nearby. Using a combination of calculated force and timing, she dislodged the container so that it toppled into the alleyway, blocking the cadets while simultaneously funneling the drones into a trap she had identified moments earlier. The first wave of attacks neutralized, Leora moved forward. Her calm, deliberate movements contrasted sharply with the frantic motions of others. She wasn't rushing. She was observing, calculating, and acting with precision. One cadet, an insectoid species with multiple limbs, tried to flank her from above, leaping from a platform. Leora anticipated the movement and triggered a hanging cable to swing, knocking him off balance. He fell back, scrambling to regain footing, while the drones he had been leading collided into obstacles she had set earlier. From the gallery, other cadets watched in awe. Many of them had entered the simulation thinking they could test or even embarrass the human cadet. Instead, they saw her orchestrate the battlefield in ways they had never imagined possible. A reptilian cadet who had doubted her abilities from the start whispered, "She's not just surviving, she's controlling everything." She noticed a series of unstable platforms above a central courtyard. Timing her movements precisely, she dislodged one, sending it crashing down to create a barrier. The drones collided with it, neutralized instantly. Meanwhile, a pair of cadets attempted to trap her in a narrow street. She noticed the gap above the street where a small bridge connected two buildings. Calculating angles and timing, she caused debris from the bridge to fall, blocking the cadet's path while simultaneously funneling remaining drones into a separate trap she had prepared. The instructors in the gallery were clearly impressed. "Her ability to anticipate both AI and cadet behavior is extraordinary," one said. "She is adapting faster than any of the previous simulations we've conducted. This is beyond skill. It is instinct combined with tactical intelligence." She had trained her mind to see opportunities where others saw obstacles, to create solutions where others saw only danger. As she advanced, a more challenging scenario unfolded. Drones and cadets coordinated to push her into a tight courtyard surrounded by unstable structures. The AI increased its speed and began using advanced tactics, attempting to overwhelm her with multiple simultaneous attacks. Even the cadets were coordinating, trying to exploit openings they assumed she would make. But Leora was already several steps ahead. She noticed a narrow ventilation shaft above the courtyard. With quick precision, she dislodged a panel, sending a series of small objects down onto the drones and cadets below. The sudden surprise caused confusion, giving her time to shift positions and neutralize threats strategically. The cadets who had been attempting to challenge her now realized they had underestimated her ability. One of the insectoid cadets muttered, "We've studied the AI, and we thought we knew the rules, but she's thinking outside every rule." Then she guided a cadet into a previously identified trap, neutralizing their advantage without any confrontation. The gallery was silent now, cadets and instructors alike staring at the display in disbelief. Leora was not just surviving, she was dominating the simulation entirely through strategy, observation, and quick thinking. As the final drones and cadets were neutralized or blocked, Leora moved to the center of the courtyard. The terrain was filled with controlled chaos, Fallen obstacles trapped drones and blocked cadets. She had completed the simulation flawlessly, without a weapon and without panicking once. The instructors activated the debriefing protocol. Leora's performance was displayed in detail, showing every calculated move, every anticipation of AI and cadet behavior, and every use of the environment. Her ability to adapt to changing scenarios, neutralize threats efficiently, and remain calm under pressure was praised as exceptional. The alien cadets who had tried to challenge her were visibly humbled. They had entered the simulation thinking they could test a human, but they had witnessed something far greater, the human mind in action. A reptilian cadet, still shaken, whispered, This isn't just skill, she's seeing everything before it happens." Respect earned through action was far more valuable than words. She knew that what she had done was more than just winning a simulation. It was proving that humans had an edge that was often overlooked: creativity, adaptability, and the ability to outthink opponents. Outside, cadets gathered in small groups, discussing her performance. Some were impressed, some were bewildered, and others were beginning to reconsider their assumptions about humans. Leora didn't engage with them. She understood that observation and action spoke louder than debate. The instructors approached her, their expressions a mixture of admiration and curiosity. "Cadet Leora," one said, "your ability to adapt to multiple variables simultaneously, AI, terrain, and other cadets, is extraordinary. You have not only neutralized threats but have done so without using weapons. Your performance demonstrates that intelligence and strategy can outperform strength and technology." Inside, she felt a quiet satisfaction. Humans had survived countless harsh environments on Earth, often underestimated, yet always finding a way to adapt and prevail. Today, she had demonstrated that same adaptability and ingenuity in a controlled, simulated environment designed to challenge the strongest cadets. As she walked to her quarters that evening, she reflected on the day's events. The simulation had pushed her to think faster, act more strategically, and anticipate more variables than ever before. She realized that this kind of training was preparing her for something larger, a real test beyond the academy. Humans had survived by thinking ahead, observing carefully, and improvising under pressure. The galaxy was beginning to see that underestimating humans was a mistake. Leora allowed herself a small smile. Today had been a demonstration, not of raw strength, but of the human mind in action. She had neutralized threats, outmaneuvered opponents, and maintained calm under pressure. She knew the next challenges would be even greater, but she was ready. As she settled in for the night, her thoughts lingered on the future. The academy had witnessed the human edge, and the other cadets had learned a lesson. Humans were not just survivors, they were innovators, strategists, and problem solvers. Underestimation could be dangerous, and Leora had made that clear. She lay back, eyes on the ceiling, thinking of the challenges yet to come. Strength and weapons could win battles, but observation, adaptability, and strategic thinking could win wars. Humans had survived countless tests throughout history, and in this new galaxy, they would continue to do so. And Leora, calm and confident, would continue to show the galaxy why the academy had never been so quiet. Word of Leora's performance in the previous simulations had reached every corner. Cadets whispered her name in awe, instructors discussed her strategies in hushed tones, and even the senior staff, who rarely intervened, wanted to observe today's final test. This was no ordinary simulation. It was a culmination of everything she had learned: AI opponents, complex terrain, environmental hazards, and now other cadets determined to challenge her at every turn. Leora stepped into the training arena, her mind calm and focused. She had faced AI alone, then AI combined with cadets, and each time she had adapted. Today would be no different. The room was massive, filled with shifting landscapes that could change in an instant. Crumbling towers, narrow bridges, winding alleys, and open courtyards. Holographic indicators warned of traps, hazards, and unpredictable AI behavior. Every detail was designed to overwhelm even the most skilled cadets. The instructors' voices echoed from above. "Cadet Leora, this is your final test. Neutralize all threats and complete the simulation. You may not use weapons. You may rely only on your skills, observation, and intelligence." They were ready to test her to see if humans were truly as capable as everyone claimed. The simulation began. Drones appeared instantly, moving in unpredictable patterns, and cadets advanced cautiously, trying to coordinate attacks. Leora paused for only a moment, assessing the battlefield. She noticed the terrain, the drones' initial positions, and the likely paths of approaching cadets. Her eyes scanned for environmental advantages, loose debris, unstable platforms, and objects that could be manipulated to neutralize multiple threats at once. The first wave of drones approached from the left, while two cadets attempted to flank her from a narrow alley. Leora moved with calculated precision, dislodging a stack of crates that toppled into the alleyway, blocking the cadets while simultaneously funneling the drones into a pre-planned trap. The drones collided with obstacles and became temporarily incapacitated. She stepped forward calmly, observing the battlefield and adjusting her strategy in real time. The alien cadets in the gallery gasped. "She's doing it again and with more opponents," one whispered. "How is she thinking so fast?" With precise timing, she dislodged it so that it fell into the drone's path, knocking several into the water below. Simultaneously, she shifted a loose platform to redirect approaching cadets into another trap. Her movements were fluid, confident, and deliberate. She wasn't just surviving, she was orchestrating the battlefield. Each step, each action was designed to neutralize threats without unnecessary risk. She anticipated drones' movements, predicted cadets' strategies, and used the environment as her ally. The AI quickly adapted, creating more complex attack patterns. Drones moved faster, coordinated better, and attempted to corner her repeatedly. At the same time, cadets tried to outmaneuver her, hoping she would make a mistake. But Leora was always one step ahead. She had learned to predict patterns, to calculate probabilities, and to manipulate the battlefield to her advantage. In one particularly tense moment, a pair of cadets coordinated with several drones to push her into a narrow alley with unstable structures overhead. Leora didn't panic. She noticed a ventilation shaft above the alley and calculated the timing. Using a hanging panel, she triggered a cascade of debris, neutralizing the drones and creating a barrier that prevented the cadets from advancing. She moved forward calmly, her actions precise and deliberate. The gallery was silent. Instructors and cadets alike watched in disbelief as Leora handled the combined threats with calm precision. Even those who had once doubted humans were forced to admit that what they were witnessing was extraordinary. As she moved deeper into the simulation, she faced the final challenge, a large open courtyard where the remaining drones and cadets were converging. The area was filled with unstable towers, loose debris, and environmental hazards designed to overwhelm anyone entering. Leora paused for a moment, scanning the battlefield. She noted the positions of all threats and identified opportunities to neutralize them efficiently. She began with a series of small, precise actions. She kicked a loose panel, sending it sliding into the path of incoming drones. She shifted a stack of crates to block a group of cadets. She timed her movements perfectly, using momentum, gravity, and environmental hazards to neutralize multiple threats simultaneously. Every move was deliberate, calculated, and effective. The cadets in the simulation realized too late that they had underestimated her. The drones they relied upon to create chaos were being used against them. The unstable terrain, once thought dangerous, became her ally. She moved like a conductor directing a symphony, each action harmonizing perfectly with the next. A particularly aggressive drone charged from above, attempting a surprise attack. Leora anticipated its path and used a hanging beam to deflect it, sending it colliding with another drone. The chain reaction neutralized multiple threats at once. At the same time, she guided a cadet into a previously identified trap, blocking their path and rendering them unable to continue the attack. The instructors in the gallery were stunned. "She's not just reacting, she's controlling the entire battlefield," one said. "This is beyond skill, this is intuition and strategy combined at an exceptional level." She had learned to anticipate AI behavior and cadet tactics, turning every disadvantage into an advantage. The simulation was designed to overwhelm, yet she had maintained complete control. Finally, the last drones and cadets were neutralized. Leora stood in the center of the courtyard, the battlefield around her a controlled chaos of obstacles, disabled drones, and trapped cadets. She had completed the final simulation flawlessly, without weapons, relying solely on intelligence, observation, and strategic thinking. The instructors activated the debriefing protocol, displaying her performance in detail. Every movement, every prediction, and every use of the environment was analyzed and praised. Leora's ability to anticipate multiple variables simultaneously had set a new standard for the Academy. Outside the simulation, cadets were silent, many of them stunned. They had entered the arena thinking they could challenge her, but they had witnessed something far greater, the human mind in action. One of the reptilian cadets muttered, "She's not just clever, she's seeing everything before it happens." She knew that what she had done was more than just winning a simulation. It was proving that humans had a unique advantage, the ability to adapt, improvise, and outthink opponents in situations that seemed impossible. The instructors approached her, their expressions a mixture of admiration and curiosity. "Cadet Leora," one said, "your performance today demonstrates intelligence, adaptability, and strategic thinking at the highest level. You have neutralized all threats without weapons, facing both AI and fellow cadets. Your methods will serve as a model for all future cadets." Humans had survived countless challenges throughout history, often underestimated, yet always finding a way to prevail. Today, she had demonstrated that same adaptability and ingenuity in the most complex simulation the Academy had ever devised. As she walked to her quarters that evening, she reflected on the day's events. She had faced the ultimate test and had succeeded through observation, strategy, and calm precision. Every obstacle had been anticipated, every threat neutralized, and she had done it all without a weapon. The cadets who had once doubted her now looked at humans differently. They had learned an important lesson. Humans were not just survivors, they were innovators, strategists, and problem solvers. Underestimation could be dangerous, and Leora had made that clear. Later, as she reviewed the debriefing holograms in her quarters, Leora thought about the future. She had proven herself at the Academy, but she knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges that required more than brute force. Strength and weapons could win battles, but observation, adaptability, and intelligence could win wars. Leora smiled quietly. Humans had always found ways to survive and thrive, often in environments that seemed impossible. Today, she had shown the Academy and the galaxy why. Her thoughts drifted to the missions that lay ahead, the unknown challenges that would test every skill she had developed. She felt ready. She understood that humans had a unique edge, one that no technology or strength could replicate. The human mind, capable of observation, strategy, and adaptation beyond any machine or instinct. As she closed her eyes that night, she knew that the Academy had seen it too. The human edge had been revealed, and it was undeniable. Leora had not just won simulations, she had set a standard, proving that humans were not just capable, but extraordinary. The galaxy would not forget this day, and neither would the cadets who had witnessed it. Humans had been underestimated for too long. Leora had made sure everyone would remember that underestimation came at a cost. And as she drifted into sleep, she was already thinking several steps ahead, ready for the next challenge, confident that her intelligence, adaptability, and calm determination would carry her through anything the universe could throw at her.